Hi everybody, my name is Madie and welcome to our new Pacific Tiger Broadcasting show called Bookmarked, where I help you find your new favorite book. So this semester is going to be focused on dystopian novels. So we'll talk about dystopian novels that are considered classics, but we'll also talk about some new releases in hopes that you can find your next favorite read. And so we'll break this segment down into 4 different sections. So we'll have setting, and we'll have characters, and then we'll have content, where we talk about the plot of the book, and then we'll also have connections. So you can see if there's some books that you liked in your past that kind of relate to this one. So the book that I'll be reviewing today is Delirium by Lauren Oliver, which was released in 2011, and it blends dystopian world building with themes of romance and coming of age. So, Delirium is set in a futuristic United States about 64 years after they have declared love to be a disease. And so, in order to protect this society, every civilian has to undergo a medical procedure in which they remove their ability to love. And so, when thinking about the setting of the novel, it's set in a futuristic Portland, Maine, which is really interesting. But the city itself is heavily regulated and divided. So the city is broken off into different sections with an electric fence around it in order to keep out what the book calls the invalids, who are people who have ran off into the wild and are refusing to undergo the medical procedure to remove love. And so this is kind of what the setting looks like. So we have this illustration, we have this one too, there's also this one, and this one as well. So hopefully that gives you a glimpse into what the setting looks like and a feel for the overall tone and atmosphere of the story. So life in this society is very controlled, predicted, and emotionally restrained because citizens are under basically constant surveillance where they have to follow mandatory curfews, evaluations, and check-ins. And even things like the books you're reading, the music you're listening to, the conversations the characters are having, they're all being watched. So think of a setting where there's cameras everywhere, it feels very clean and sterile on the surface, but underneath it's very fear-driven. Okay, so now onto the characters, which is my favorite part. So there's 2 main characters in Delirium. There's Lena and then there's Alex, but we're gonna primarily focus on Lena because she is the main point of view and perspective in the first novel. And so Lena Holloway is a 17-year-old teenage girl living under this constrained society. But she cannot wait to have her cure. She is counting down the days until she can get rid of her ability to love. So Lena, from the very beginning of the novel, is super cautious and she's really obedient. So she's basically like a goody two-shoes. And she's internalized this society's belief that love is bad. Right? And so she's also struggling because her mom passed away due to her falling in love. So there's a lot of dynamics at play. And while I liked that it developed her backstory well and right off the bat gave us insight into why she is the way she is, I do wish that there was a little bit more variation in her personality because for the first a fifth of the book, she's very sometimes flat. And it's hard to see into those deeper layers because she's just obedient. I wish there was a little bit more variation there. But overall, I really liked her backstory, and I think the book does a really good job of diving deeper into her character and pulling back those layers in the second half. I just wish there were some breadcrumbs or a little bit more in the beginning. And so the second main character in the novel is Alex. And so Alex is part of what I mentioned before, so he's an invalid, which means that he refused to get cured and now he lives outside of the society in the wild. And so I really like Alex's character because he's a good foil to Lena because he challenges everything that she basically stands for, but in a way that feels authentic to the character, because I feel a lot of the times if there's a male supporting narrative to the main protagonist, it kind of just feels like slapped on and not fully developed, but that's definitely not the case with this book. So I really like how Lauren Oliver does a good job of like bringing each character to life authentically and individually. So if you're someone who loves character-driven stories, you'll definitely like this one. And here is a fan art drawing of Lena looking outside of the electrified fence and into the wild. This is another fan art drawing from the end of the book. Okay, so now on to the context of the story. So what is really the plot about? Well, the plot is about Lena struggling to maintain society's belief that love needs to be cured. So the inciting incident of the story is when Lena is going to get her cure, but then all of a sudden, something goes wrong in the building. She's standing outside of it and she hears screaming and she's like, oh no, I'm supposed to go in and get my cure now. Well, turns out somebody released a bunch of cows into, I know it's a little silly, a bunch of cows into the testing building. So therefore, they have to shut down for that day. So she misses out on getting cured. But then right after that, her and her best friend are walking around the complex trying to figure out what happened because they're a little bit nosy, but I get that. And they run into Alex, who is the invalid who actually released the cows to stop the procedure that day. So the reason that I like this inciting incident is that it's just a little bit unconventional. Like, it's silly, it's goofy, but it gives us an insight into how really young these characters are, I think. And that's very important because when reading these dystopian novels, it's interesting to see parallels to people who are like basically your own age. Like I'm reading this and I'm like, wow, like I really connect to these characters, and it's really interesting. So even though I like the inciting incident, I feel like the novel gets a little bit slow from there because like it goes from this action-packed, punchy catalyst to like a slow rise to the big climax, because after Lena meets Alex, their relationship is more of like a slow burn. Like she keeps getting stopped by other obstacles to like fully meet him and talk. They get closer, they go to parties, but it's really hard for them to interact. It's like the outside world is really saying no, like the story mustn't go on, but like the characters are trying their best. And like while I appreciate the slow burn, I think it was just a little bit too slow for me because it kind of felt like there would be like a big like action scene and then it was just like plateaued for a little bit. But that's okay. Like maybe you're into that, maybe you like the slow burn and you'll really like this book as well. And so the conflict of the novel is interesting because it's a battle between both external and external conflict happening. And so what happens is Lena and Alex finally get to meet up. They're at this party. It gets crashed by the cops. They're running from the police. That's the external conflict. And then Lena's having these thoughts about, well, maybe the cure really isn't that true. Like, what is the truth behind the meaning of everything they've been telling me, right? So she's having this internal conflict while they're running away from the police. And, Lena decides in that moment that she actually wants to go see the wilds where Alex lives because he's offered her before, but she's been kind of shaky on it. Like, she still believes in everything she's been told. But now, at the climax, she's rethinking that. Like, she decides that, yes, she wants to go see it. And so I liked this climax because I liked the battle between the external and internal beliefs, and I like how the outside pressures and the inside pressures were playing out at the same time. Like, it was really thrilling. It was really, like, tangible. Her fear was tangible. So that was really interesting. Again, I wish there was a little bit more variation with maybe the external factors, because I feel like a lot of the time the two characters, every time they get interrupted, every time they have to run from something outside of themselves, it's the police, and it's just kind of like they're running from the police a lot. So I maybe wish there was a little bit more diversity in the way that the outside world affected them. But other than that, like, I think the internal conflict is very good. I like how this is used as a coming of age story and how you can see the character arc in Lena and how she's not like too easy to switch up on her beliefs. So she's actually taking her time and contemplating, and you get to kind of go on that journey with her, which I like. And the internal conflict is just, it's relatable too as well. So overall, the climax is good. I wish it was a little bit up the stakes. I wish it was a little bit more tense, but yeah. So overall, for me, I would probably rate the novel like a 6.5 out of 10. which is good because I've read a lot of dystopian books and a lot of them have not been good. So the overall themes of the novel are ultimately, well, it's a coming of age story, but it's also about the dangers of suppressed emotion, it's about control versus freedom, and it's about emotion, love, and pain as inseparable. And so if you've liked the book The Giver, you'll probably also like Delirium. If you liked the book Matched, which was about the government controlling people's relationships, you'll probably like this book as well. And then another comparison that's a little bit more intense is George Orwell's 1984. So if you liked that book, I think the surveillance aspect of Delirium will be fun for you to read. So yeah, I hope you liked this book review and I hope to see you in the next episode.